Thank you for joining us for the March Blueprint for Business Success webinar, Retention and Culture. Keep them and keep them happy. Attendees are muted, but we encourage you to use the chat box for asking your questions, which will be answered at the end of the presentation as our time allows. As usual, we ask that your questions and comments are polite and respectful to our attendees and the presenter. There is a 2-minute anonymous survey at the end. We would appreciate you completing it. Your feedback helps us improve the program and offer future topics and content that is useful to our Montana businesses. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from Jeff Morris, Director of Hospitality at ChickfilA Kalispell. In the 5.5 years since ChickfilA has been in the Valley, it has been voted Best of the Flathead, Best Customer Service 3 years in a row. ChickfilA Kalispell has also seen growth of 20% or more for the past 3 years. When you enter Chick-fil-A, you can expect to be greeted by any team member with a smile and a heartfelt welcome, and that culture of service and care has been Jeff's focus during his time at the restaurant. Chick-fil-A Kalispell has maintained retention rates between 57 and 60% in an industry that sees tremendous turnover. Jeff has been instrumental in creating and maintaining a positive and encouraging culture for employees. Jeff has always had a passion for people and has worked in the food service industry from a very young age. He holds a degree in K-12 music education from Montana State University and taught at Cayuse Prairie School for 4 years. Please welcome Jeff Morris.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Please pardon my voice. That's why I'm wearing this super cool headset today. Even though I'm losing my voice a little bit, I didn't want to not be able to present this because retention and culture is something that I am so passionate about, and it plays such a huge part in where we're at right now as employers. So please bear with me, and hopefully we could take something away from this together. So retention and culture. My name is Jeff Morris, Director of Culture and Hospitality. I've worked at Chick-fil-A for about 5 years now. And when I started, I was just the entry-level guy. I came in and worked those entry-level shifts, did the entry-level work, and really just found out what it was like to be on the ground floor of this company, serving guests, serving food, and just making all of that bustle happen. And through my journey here at Chick-fil-A, I've tried to remember what it was like to be in those shoes, because once you start to move up in a company, once you start to move up in your business, sometimes you forget what it was like to be in that entry level. And so that's really helped me connect with our team and make sure that the things that I'm suggesting, the things that I'm trying to implement are things that are going to benefit them and just increase the positive culture that we have at Chick-fil-A. Culture. What is it? So in essence, the workplace culture is the environment and the mindset developed by leadership that influences every aspect of your employees' daily work life. Every company has a culture. It's not something that might just be missing from your workplace. Every workplace has a culture. It might be positive though, or it might be negative. And so today we're going to talk about some ways to hopefully take whatever culture level you're at and boost it up to a couple more positive levels. So if your culture is positive, your employees are going to thrive. They're going to love working for you. They're going to love coming into work every day. But if that culture is negative, eventually, and it's only a matter of time, your employees are going to leave and they're going to go find a place that has a better culture that's better suited for them. I wanted to take a quick poll. What I'd like you to do on your screen, it should pop up here, is a questionnaire. How would you rate your current workplace culture? Take just a second, go with your gut. Don't spend a lot of time pondering this question because we're going to have another one right after this that I do want you to think a little bit deeper about. All right, so no one thought that their culture was poor. That's amazing. That's what I like to hear, you guys. Passable, moderate, looks like that's jumping up a little bit. And then it looks like a lot of people feel like their workplace culture is above average, and that's amazing. That's what I love to hear. What I want you to do now is we're going to do that same question almost exactly, but what I want you to think about is your basic entry-level employee, as they're coming into work, what are they thinking about with your culture? How did they feel making that drive? How do they feel walking in and clocking in? And then while they're on the job doing the things that they're being asked to do, how do you think they would rate the workplace culture? So I'll give you just a little bit longer and really put yourself in their shoes. This kind of ties back into what I was talking about at the beginning. As you move up through a company, sometimes it's easy to lose sight of what that daily grind looks like. And so putting yourself in the shoes of your employees and seeing your business from their eyes is a huge piece of improving the culture at your company. Okay, so still some really great answers. Still nobody would rate their culture as poor. And that's amazing. I love that. It looks like the above average did drop down a little bit to the moderate level, and we're seeing quite a few, the majority probably of people ranking their culture as moderate. And so that's a great awareness to go into this presentation with, because we're going to look at some ways that hopefully we could take that moderate and bump it down to that above average or even that excellent level. So since COVID has changed the entire world, things are different now. Back in the day, you had your employees who were there because they'd been there for so long. You know, they knew the company, they knew their coworkers. They weren't trying to go out and learn anything else. They weren't trying to pursue anything else. They would go to work, they would do their job, and they would come home because it was convenient for them to stay there. Employees now are looking for more than just that paycheck. They're looking for more than just to make ends meet. A lot of employees these days are looking for benefits like healthcare, planning for their retirement, looking to build their future with growth opportunities, with higher education options. Your employees are now looking for a positive environment. I think back before, it was easy to get away with kind of having a subpar environment because people were just there and they were going to come in and do their work. But now with the ease of working from home and with all of the new business options that people have, that positive environment is going to play a huge part in the culture. They're looking for support. They want to come in and know that their coworkers and their boss has their back with whatever they're going through. They're also looking for ways to develop. There's nothing worse than being in the same day-to-day grind and just getting stagnant. You know, you lose that passion, you lose that fire for why you signed up for this company in the first place if you're not trying to grow and if you're not trying to develop. So making sure that there are ways for your employees to learn more, to grow more, to continue pushing themselves to be greater, huge. And then a lot of employees now are also looking for meaning with their companies. They want to know that what they're doing day to day is making an impact on the world. It's so hard to go into a place and not feel like you're making any kind of a difference at all. And now, again, that there are so many options out there. People can work from home. People can follow their passions and their dreams through the internet and make a great living. That is very tempting for a lot of people, especially if they're not feeling rewarded at their work. So ChickfilA, our corporate purpose is to have a positive influence on all who come into contact with ChickfilA. And for a long time for me here at this ChickfilA, that meant the guests. From the moment they walk into the door to the moment that ChickfilA is in their rearview mirror, making sure that they are greeted with a smile, that their food is fast and it was high quality, and that the dining room was clean and they had a place for their children to play. Only lately, as we've kind of developed a bigger importance on our culture here, has that turned around into our employees as well. And so we want to make sure as leaders that we're having a positive influence on our team. We hire a lot of 14, 15, 16-year-olds, and sometimes it's their first job. For a lot of these kids, it's their first job. It's their first time out of the house, having to, having these expectations on them in the working world. And sometimes it's a lot for them to switch to that. But if you can approach that positively, if you can make them feel like they're growing and it's not just being yelled at every single day, it helps them grow. It helps them stay engaged with your company. So for me, I was a music teacher for 4 years before I went to Chick-fil-A. My wife and I were living on a teacher salary. We didn't have a lot of money for anything, let alone going out to eat, and just having, like a date night out at a nice restaurant. And so we would camp out when new restaurants would come to town. And if they offered any kind of free food to be the first people through the door, we were there. We loved it. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings. We went to Costa Vida. We went to Panera. And then we heard that Chick-fil-A was coming into town, and they had an event called the First 100. And the first 100 people through the door got 52 free Chick-fil-A meals just for being there. And so when we heard that, we knew we had to be there. We were in. The only problem was that it was the middle of November and it was very chilly. So I went there early in the morning. I wanted to stake out my spot. I got my tent set up. I had my chair. I had a little space heater that I plugged in. And I just made a whole day of it. It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of really cool people there. And as we got into the night and as we kind of got into that next morning, they would do roll call and they would see how many people were in line still. And at about 4 a.m, there were 89 people in line. So I called my wife up and I said, honey, you got to get down here. There's still room. You can make it. So she got here and she just barely made it as one of those first 100. So we both enjoyed that free Chick-fil-A. It didn't last us a year though. Lasted us about 6 months. We flew through it. It was so good. And so as those meals started to disappear before our eyes and summer was coming up, I thought, man, I want to keep that free Chick-fil-A vibe going. And so for a summer job, because I had summers off as a teacher, I went to work at Chick-fil-A and I didn't think anything of it. I didn't come in thinking I was going to switch and make this a career. It was just a fun little goof off job to make some extra money and to get some free Chick-fil-A. But while I was there, I met the operator. His name is Meadows, and he's been doing Chick-fil-A for a long time. And one day he challenged me to take care of his dining room and to take care of his guests. And at the time I thought, well, this is kind of a silly thing, but I am an overachiever and I love to rise to the challenge. So I said, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to do whatever I can to impress this guy. So I went out there and I talked to the guests and I cleaned the tables and I checked in with people and I just took care of everyone that I could come in contact with. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks later, as summer was winding down, that Casey offered me a full-time job at Chick-fil-A. And it was then that he told me that he was testing me there. He wanted to see what I was capable of and if I could fill a hole that they had in the business. He gave me the VIP treatment. And by that, I mean, he had a vision. He saw potential in me and tested me for the areas that he lacked in. He is a great guy. He is not inclined to be out in the public, to be the center of attention, to be the face of Chick-fil-A. And he saw that in me. And so he tested that to make his team stronger. He wanted me on there for that reason. He gave me an incentive. I was making money as a teacher. I went to college for 4-ish years to be a music teacher. And, it was my passion. I loved it. I loved the kids. But he offered me more money than I was making as a teacher just to come on board with him. And then he also said that there would be plenty more down the road as I continued to grow and as we grew his business. And he had patience with me. By the time I got my summer job, I had already signed my teaching contract for the next year, but that didn't stop him. He said, you know what? I will wait for you. Go back and teach. Come work for me on the weekends, 1 or 2 a month. Just make sure you're staying in this business and see if it's something that you really want to do. And so I did, and I taught, and I came back and I worked at Chick-fil-A. And by the beginning of the next summer, I was sold. I knew it was where I had to be. It was one of the greatest places I had ever worked. And a lot of that was because of the culture. Something that I thought was so important, though, was he refused to give me any kind of final offer, any kind of paperwork to sign until he met with my wife and I together. And so he brought his wife in, I brought my wife in, and we all 4 sat down and we talked through everything. And he made sure that she knew what we were getting into, that the hours were going to be different, that the work was going to be different. But she also could see how much he cared and his passion, and that it was like a family there. And so she was on board too. And so then we signed up, and I've been at Chick-fil-A ever since, and it's been amazing. Pardon me for just a sec. So for Casey and his importance in this business, I mean, culture starts at the top. It doesn't start down at the bottom with those entry-level workers. It starts with the person who's in charge, the one who's setting the vision, the one who is setting the priorities for your team and for that business. And so for us at Chick-fil-A, that starts with Casey Meadows. So he's worked at Chick-fil-A for over 20 years, and he's had stores in the Midwest. He's had a store in California, and then he got the option to move down here in Kalispell, and he jumped on that so fast. He was so excited to come up here and spread the love of Chick-fil-A and just be in such a great group of people that we have here in Kalispell. Like me, he started out at the bottom of Chick-fil-A when he was just a teenager. He worked those entry-level positions. You know, he was breading the chicken, he was serving the guests, he was making the drinks, he was cleaning the dining room. And he hasn't forgotten what it's like to be there. He's faced many difficulties and challenges in his time going through the Chick-fil-A ladder. It is not as well, it hasn't always been as well known as it is today. When Chick-fil-A first started out, it was just a small operation down in Georgia, and then it started to grow and grow and grow. But it took a long time for it to catch on. But he stuck through, and he knew what he wanted from his team. He knew what kind of a business he wanted to present to the public, and he knew that he wanted to care for his team and to care for his guests. And so through all the challenges, through all the struggles, he pushed through with that care and that love and that positive culture mindset, and it's gotten him to where he is today. A typical pyramid, obviously, big part on the bottom, small part at the top. And when you think about leadership, a lot of times your leaders are sitting up at the top of the pyramid. But for Casey, something he's told me several times is that he sees that pyramid upside down with him at the very bottom, and he is holding up his entire team. He is supporting the next level of leaders that come up past that tip. And then those leaders support the leaders above that, all the way to the very top, to where those team members are. And I think that is so cool, and it's so important, and it has made such a big difference in his company. Positive influence is focused on valuing people, encouraging and caring for people, and creating meaningful personal connections. As we seek to have a positive influence on all who come into contact with Chick-fil-A, we do our work with care and encouragement to all. We serve everyone with honor, dignity, and respect, and we value differences. So that is the Chick-fil-A corporate mindset for their culture. And so just like starting at the top from Casey, this is being encouraged all the way from Chick-fil-A corporate in Atlanta. And it makes a big difference for our team to know that they're going to be treated with dignity and respect, that they're going to be treated with honor, that we value them and what they bring to the team. All of them have different gifts. All of them have different areas that they are going to succeed in. And so if you can find that in your team, and if you can challenge them to grow those areas where they know that they will do better, it's going to empower them to just buy into your company, and they will be on fire for it. And so you might be thinking, how do I have a positive influence with my team? I don't have a lot of options where I'm at. Everyone has cubicles. Everyone is offsite. Everyone is, we're still doing working from home things. There are a lot of different ways to let your team know that you value them and that they're important to you. Having lunch with them. If you can sneak away for just 10 or 15 minutes and sit with somebody during your lunch break and their lunch break and just talk to them like a person, it'll grow a connection, and they will just love to come to work for you if they know that you see them as a person. Showing an interest in their interests. This one is a little bit challenging. At Chick-fil-A, we work with a lot of 14, 15-year-olds. That age range goes all the way up to 70. I mean, we have a wide variety of ages and a wide variety of interests in our team there. And it doesn't mean that you have to be super passionate about all of the different things that your team likes. But if you ask them questions about it, if it's something that they're passionate about, and you let them talk your ear off about what they love, they will open up to you more than they ever have before. Your team is going to have a rough day every once in a while. They're going to need somebody to listen to. And if they come to work and they think that no one cares, they're not going to open up. They're going to shut down. Their productivity is going to drop. But if they know that they can come in and they can sit down with you and they could just talk to you for 5 minutes and just tell you what's going on in their life, you might not even have to say anything, but just being that ear to hear what they have to say is so valuable. Check in with them often, and not the superficial, like, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. But the, hey, how are you doing? I know that you stubbed your toe last week and it really hurt. Are you feeling better? I see that, I know you got a bad haircut, but it looks great right now. Just making sure that they know that you care about them and the little things that they've got going in their lives. Again, that is so important. A couple of really big pieces for us at Chick-fil-A: the praise in public and the correct in private. And then also praise goes up. Praise goes down, praise goes down, problems go up. And what that means is simple. When you're with your team and you see one person or two people doing something great, tell everyone. Encourage them with that positive reinforcement. Let them know that when they're doing a good job, everyone is going to hear about it. But when they make a mistake, don't call them out in front of everyone. Nobody likes to be corrected in front of their peers. No one likes to know that they're doing something wrong. And so if it's in front of everybody, they're going to shut down. They're going to put up walls. They are just going to close themselves off, and they might not even learn the lesson. If you can pull them aside and just take a couple of minutes one-on-one and let them know, hey, this isn't the way that we do things here. Have you thought about doing it a different way? Likewise, praise goes down. From the top, I think your team needs to know that they're doing a good job. And so Casey will often let us know as his director team that we're doing a good job. We let our leaders know that they're doing a good job, and they let their team know that they're doing a good job. And that positivity just trickles down, really like the snowball effect. Likewise, the problems need to go up. If your entry-level teammate is having a problem with somebody and they're just spreading that problem around with everybody else on their level, nothing is going to get fixed. If they come to a leader who can do something about it, that's where the change happens. That's where those problems start to get solved. And so the same goes for everybody. If you're having trouble with somebody that you work with, don't just talk about it with your coworkers. Don't talk about it with your peers. Take it to somebody above your level that can do something about it. That'll help keep everybody on the same page, and it'll fix the problem a lot sooner than just bad-mouthing somebody. Building culture. It's not easy, and it doesn't just happen overnight. You have to find somebody who is going to be in charge of it, who's going to take the reins on the culture of your business. For Chick-fil-A right now, that is me. And so my big goal is making sure that when our team comes in, they know that they're cared about. They know that they're loved. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of commitment and resources. And I'm always looking for different ways to make our team feel more valued here at Chick-fil-A. The positive culture of your work environment is going to vary between all of the different companies for everyone that's tuning in. For us, our goal is to ensure every person leaves Chick-fil-A with a positive experience to share. Again, that of course applies to our guests. We want our guests to come in. We want them to know that we care about them. We want them to leave with a smile, but we want our team to leave with a smile every day after work too. And that is hard. There are a lot of things. I'm sure you guys have seen Chick-fil-A when it's busy. It's not just a stand around job. The work is hard and our team is running all the time. But if they can feel accomplished at the end of the day and they can walk out of there with a smile, we've won. We've won for the day. And we're going to try it again the next day. Again, that culture is going to be different for every single company out there. It might be hard for you to find ways to make it work for you, but if you're trying to do it alone, you will probably not succeed. If you could spend time with your employees, if you can find the things that interest them and the things that are important to them, that is going to be where your win is. You could have the best idea to go play paintball with the entire group. But if you're the only one who likes paintball, first of all, they might not show up. Or second, they might get out there and just hate it. right? And so it's not really about the things that you love and the things that you're passionate about. It's the things that your team loves and the things that your team are passionate about that are really going to cement them to you. Some other things: focus on your team members' health and happiness. Check in with your leadership if you have leaders. Check in with your employees if you don't have any leaders. Let them know that you care about them and the things that are going on in their lives are important to you. If you see someone is having an off day, just check in. You don't necessarily need to pry because they might not be ready to open up about it yet, but just letting them know that you're there for them and that if they do want to talk about it, that you're available, they will appreciate that very much. And then be intentional with it too. It's not just one of those things that you say, yep, all right, I checked in with him, I'm good to go on with my day. We call it checking your leadership temperature. If your leaders are lukewarm or cold for your business, that is all they're going to pass on to their team, the people that they're spending every single day with. And they're going to hear that this person is not happy. They're going to hear about all of these problems that they're going through. But if your leadership is fired up and they know you care about them and they are bought into your company, they're going to pass that fire down to the team, and the whole group is going to thrive because of that. And then model the things that you want to see. It is so easy to come out and say, hey, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. But if they don't see you doing it, if they don't see your team doing it, it's not going to carry a lot of weight. It's not going to go very far. If you can, let them know that you're in the trenches with them too. I know that looks different for all of these companies here. For Chick-fil-A, when I can get out front and I can take orders on register, or I can throw on a headset like this cool one and talk to some people in their cars in the drive-thru, the team loves to see that. They get so excited. And it's so simple. And it's for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It really isn't that much time at all, but it means the world to them. And then you need to be approachable too. They need to know that they can trust you and that the things that they bring to you aren't going to be shared around with the entire team. They're not going to be shared around with your leadership or, mocked or laughed at or disregarded. You need to be able to be approachable. So for retention, how to keep them, right? How do you get those employees that are already there from going to find another job somewhere else in the valley or somewhere else in the world or from their house? The fact that people can work from home now has opened up a whole new avenue of options for people to stay in their pajamas, to, sit on their couch all day and work from home. And it's that comfort and that environment of being home that people are really driven to right now. And so our big challenge is finding ways to keep your team bought into your company while they're there. From the very beginning, the first interview, that is going to set the stage for everything that your company stands for and for everything that your company is going to be accomplishing. And so as you approach your interview process, you need to have your ideal candidate in mind. You know your company better than anybody else. You know what your company needs and what your team needs and all of the different facets that go into being a successful employee for your company. And so if someone is interviewing and they don't seem like a good fit, they're probably not going to be a good fit. If you aren't just blown away, cut them loose. They're probably not going to be the employee that you need. Don't hire out of necessity. Don't say, you know what, we are struggling right now. This guy would work. If we were fully staffed and we were in a good spot, I would never pick this guy. But since we are low in our numbers, I'm going to hire him just to get us through. It's not going to work. Your team is going to resent him. He's going to not do great work for your company. And it's just going to bring that culture down, down, down. And then something that I've heard before is that your employees can typically change by about 2 points, either for good or for bad. So if you're hiring a 7, skill-wise, comprehension, however you rate this person coming in, if they're a 7, they might get all the way up to a 9, right? They might be one of the greatest people that you've ever hired. They might drop down to a 5. They might get into a position and they get comfy and they just kind of start to coast. It's important to be thinking about that, because if you hire a 3, the best they're ever going to get to you is a 5. they're never going to be that star employee. And they could get down to a 1, right? I mean, it would just be a terrible idea to bring a 1 into your company for so many reasons. So as you're interviewing people, be thinking about that. Be thinking how much they could grow, how much they might drop, and if that's acceptable with your group. As people come in and interview for Chick-fil-A, we tell them up front, it's going to be busy. There's not going to be a lot of time to stand around. I always ask people if they've eaten at Chick-fil-A during a lunch rush. And if they have, I say, I mean, this is what you can expect every single day. And if they haven't, what I'll tell them is, what I want you to do is I want you to go and I want you to come back during a lunch rush and see what it looks like. And then we'll have another interview. And I want you to know that this is what you're getting into. And I want you to be ready for it. There should never be a time where your employees get hired on and they don't know exactly what's going to be expected of them. If you're trying to hide things, if you're trying to cover something up or you're trying to sugarcoat it, they're going to find out and they're going to leave. And then you're going to have wasted all of that time training them, hiring them, processing them, getting all of that in the works. So just tell them up front what you offer and what they can expect from the job. Let them sift themselves out. And then have your applicants interview at least 2 times. And if you can do it with 2 separate people, that it would be great. Having 2 sets of eyes on your applicant, 2 sets of questions, 2 different perspectives on what this person can bring to the team. Because sometimes they will go in and they will rock that first interview and they will say every single word correct and they will say everything that you're looking for. And then if they come back for a second interview, the different questions might throw them off. They might let their true self shine out, right? That you might find something in that second interview that you didn't see that first time through. And you might save your employees and your team a lot of heartache if you can interview a second time. As you begin to hire these people who are coming through your interviews, it is what they're seeing the first time they step foot into your business. This is their first peek of how your operation runs. It needs to be straightforward. It needs to be well organized, and it needs to be as simple as possible. There shouldn't be a lot of questions that these new employees are having to ask to get onboarded into your company, right? It should be perfectly laid out. It should be timely. They should know from the second they've been hired what the next steps are for them to actually get in and start working for you. And once they get in, that training that you're providing for them needs to be high quality. If you're not giving them the tools to succeed in your business, there's no one to blame for their poor performance but you. They need to know exactly what's expected. They need to know how to run things every step of the way. And sometimes that's hard for people to say, look, I'm going to walk you through every piece of this process. And then I want you to walk me through every piece of that process. And then, and only then, am I going to trust you to be able to do it on your own. And it is that 3-step of making sure first that they see how it's done. And then second, that you're watching them as they do it for their first few times. And then third, they're finally, you trust them. You know, they've got it down. They've got it figured out. You can run with it. People learn differently too. And so finding different ways to have that training material for your employees is huge. Some people read and comprehend things through print. Some people like to look at a screen and be able to scroll through and have the option to click on different things if they have questions. And then some people work best in person or with a trainer right over their shoulder so that they can ask questions, so that they can see the things that are being asked of them. So the more options you give for your new employees for training, the better off you're going to be. All right. They're in, they interviewed, they're hired, they've been trained, they are doing the day-to-day. How do you keep that exciting for your team? Knowing what they're coming into every single day, especially if it's the same thing day in and day out. How do you make it exciting? How do you entice them to want to come to work for you every day? Some things that we've tried at Chick-fil-A that seem to work all right. Surprise them with something small, donuts, things for different holidays, like for St. Patrick's Day, we had a bunch of different green colored snacks for them to choose from. It was so simple and it was so easy, but they loved it. They were so excited about it. When they walk through the door into your business, Greet them with a smile. Even if you don't like them, if they come in and they know that they are not appreciated and that you're not excited to see them, why would they be excited to be there for you? Give them some things that they can accomplish. No one likes to be challenged with something that they have no chance of succeeding with, to know that it is an impossible goal. But if you give them little things that it's going to challenge them, and that's great, but that they can accomplish, they will love that. And then when you celebrate with them for those accomplishments, it's going to carry a lot of weight for you. And then give them things to look forward to. Let them know things are coming up. This could be going back to some of those surprises, knowing that St. Patrick's Day was coming up, knowing that Valentine's Day is coming up, knowing that our Christmas party is coming up, and giving them reasons to say, okay, another day, I'm ready for this because in 2 weeks, it's our Christmas party. I'm so excited for it. And then as much as you can, spend time with them. I know it's hard. I know everybody is busy, busier now than we've ever been. I know that. But you've got to make the time. You've got to do it. You've got to show your team that you value them, that they are important to you, that you are a person that they want to keep coming to work for. For us, especially, we know that not every employee that we have is going to work for Chick-fil-A for the rest of their lives. I mean, these are 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. This is going to be a season of their life. And so we're not going to discourage them from leaving. We're going to celebrate with our team as they find new things, new passions that they want to go try, new adventures that they want to go chase. If people are scared to leave your team and your company, they're going to sneak out. And the word is going to get out that it's not a good place to work. But if your team leaves with their head held high, if your team leaves knowing that they can come back into that restaurant at any time and their team is going to greet them with a smile and they're going to remember and they might get a hug and they're just going to be so excited to see that person come back in, they're going to tell all of their friends, they're going to tell their family, they're going to tell everyone that this is a great company. And it might not have been a great fit for them, or it may have been a great fit for them and they just wanted to try something new. But either way, that word of mouth, that positivity, that culture that they're carrying out for you is going to sell people wanting to come work for you. So setting them up for success, knowing that they're going to leave, it does get a little bit tiring. I mean, it's hard. You train these kids, you bring them up, you show them how to act in a business sense, how to get along with people, what the corporate world looks like, and then they take those skills and they go get a different job somewhere else. It's just going to set them up for success down the line, and it's going to make this world a better place. If your team is going out set up and prepared for the next challenge in their life. So for us, teaching employees good business skills and mindsets, knowing how to be productive, knowing to set expectations for themselves and goals for themselves and challenge themselves, because not all the time are there going to be explicit goals for your team. But if they can say, you know what, today I'm going to make 30 people smile by talking to them. They're going to push themselves and they're going to challenge themselves and they're going to get better just because they want to and they know how. Another thing that we do is we try and buy a going away card for our team as they're leaving. And we try and get as many of our other team to sign it so that as this person is leaving and they're going on with their life, they've got a keepsake from that point in their lives that they can look back on fondly and just say, you know what? I remember all of these people. I remember this guy had an impact on me here in this portion of my life. I know this girl taught me this thing that I'd still do every single day. And they can look back at that card and they can just hopefully smile and remember the time that they shared at your company. If you can make their last day a special event, every once in a while, we'll try and take some of our higher level leaders out for their final dinner with us. And it's not a guilt trip. It's not something to say, well, look what you're missing out on. You could be having dinner with us all the time. It's saying, hey, what else do you have going on in your life? What does this new journey look like for you? Talk to me about it. Tell me why you're so excited about this. I want to know because I value you. And then invite them to come back in the future if they need anything, a letter of reference, a hug, It doesn't matter if they need something from you, let them know that they can come back and get that from you whenever they need it. And then when they do, please make it happen. Don't try and find excuses to put it off or to let it get buried in the paperwork or whatever. Make it a priority, because that will get passed on as well. For us, when we see someone from our former team come back in and they get a hug and they get a smile and they're so excited to see us again, to me, that is a big win, knowing that they can come back in and still be valued. From this presentation, I'm hoping that there are some takeaways that you can take with you now to start implementing a positive culture in your work environment to make sure that your team is feeling valued. Remember that recruitment and employment, it's not necessarily about the pay anymore. You can look all over Kalispell right now and people are hiring for $15, $16, $18, $20 an hour. They've got sign-on bonuses. They've got just perks like you wouldn't believe. And they're still not getting the staff. It's not about the pay necessarily anymore. They need an engaging and a supportive workplace. They need to know that when they go into work every single day, they are making a difference for their team, for their guests, for their family, for the world. They are going to be looking for benefits to help them down the line. So if you don't offer healthcare right now, if you don't offer retirement right now, if you don't have options for your team to further their education, start small. See if there's some way that you can get into some of those different avenues. And it doesn't have to be all at once, but adding a little bit on at a time and then just growing those benefit programs and those benefit packages, people are going to see that and they're going to know that they're cared about for the rest of their lives. And if the work isn't meaningful, people are not going to be drawn to it. We serve chicken, we fry fries, we dish out nuggets, but we do it because we care about people coming in and we care about making their day better because they came to see us. And so that carries a lot of weight with it with our team. Some people do come in because they just want a great chicken sandwich, and that's awesome. And we can provide that for them. Some people come in because they have a 30-minute lunch break, and we can hopefully get them in and out through our drive-through in under 30 minutes so they can enjoy their lunch. But sometimes, and I've had people tell me this before, someone will come in and they're not even hungry. They just need a smile. They just need someone to ask them how their day is going and to check in with them and to make them feel important. And to me, those interactions, those moments are why I'm here. That's why I'm at Chick-fil-A. Start now with your culture. Don't put it off. Don't say, you know what, I'm going to start in April or May or June or Christmas time or whatever. Do it today. Find what you can do today to start improving that culture with your team. Find someone to put in charge of it. If you're the owner of your company, it might be really hard for you to make the time to focus on that along with everything else that you're doing. But if you have someone on your team who loves the staff, if you have someone on your team who is excited to be there and they love your company, if you can, put them in charge of it. Let them run with it. Let's see what they can come up with. It is going to take time. It is going to take some money. That's just part of it. But the payoff is going to be huge. If you can work with that, if you can grow this culture into something that people talk about every single day and they come to work with a smile on their face, it's going to be worth it for you in the long run for years to come. And then celebrate with your employees every step of their journey with you. Make them feel like you love them. Make them feel like you care about them. Your employees are a gift to your company and they should feel like it. They should know that they have value with you and that they're not just another 9-to-5er. They're not another cog in the machine, but that you value them, you love them, you care about them, you want to see what's best for them. And through that, they are going to open up to you. They are going to grow for your company. They are going to do everything that they can do to make this place successful. Thank you so much for letting me say all that. I'd love to hear if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, Jeff, wonderful presentation. Jeff, that was a wonderful presentation. A lot of information, way to battle through with your voice. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. We appreciate it. We do have some questions that have come in. First one is, do you think the age or level of education makes a difference in any of the information you've shared with us today?
Yes and no. People are going to have different interests and different things that they value, depending on their age, depending on their education. Making someone feel loved, though, shouldn't be dependent on any of those things. Making them feel important to you, however you can do that, it shouldn't be a factor.
All right. Another one. What are some events or the things that Chick-fil-A has done for their employees that you can share with the businesses?
So we just started this culture project late last year, October, November timeframe. And so my first big project was to sit down and find one thing every single month that we could treat our team to. And so for January, we rented out a whole theater over at the movie theater downtown here, and we showed Spider-Man to everybody. We bought them popcorn, and we bought them candy, and we bought them soda, and they could just come and be a part of this big movie watching experience without the expectation of having to talk about work or think about work at all. Last month, we took the team bowling. They had a great time. It was a ton of fun. Every summer, we try and rent out the Big Sky Water Park. They've got a little area off to the side. And so we'll host a barbecue for them, and we'll give them free access to all of the slides and all of the activities. And they just come and they have a great time. And it's about them. You know, we don't have any ulterior motives there. We don't try and cram a team meeting into that. If you want to come for 20 minutes and have a burger and go down a slide once and then get out of here, that's great. If you want to show up early and you want to stay for 8 hours, that's awesome. Whatever makes you happy, come be with us.
All right. We've got some other ones that have flown in. Do you seek feedback from your employees, like new hire feedback, surveys, or performance reviews?
We actually have tried to get a really good feel with our team lately. We do offer a quarterly anonymous survey for our whole team to fill out. It's not expected, it's not required, of course, because I think when there's that pressure to have to fill something out, they're going to feel like their answers need to be padded. But for the people who have something on their heart or on their mind that they want to share, they have those options. We actually have tried to get all of our leadership to take a couple of different assessments too for their personality. And so we've pursued the DISC assessment with a lot of our leadership to find out how we interact with each other in a way that's going to make us successful. And then also the 5 love languages. I know that seems kind of weird in a corporate setting, but finding out the ways that people feel valued might be totally different from your gut instinct on how you want to value your team. If they come in and they don't care about gifts, but all you're doing is just showering them with different presents and little things, that's not going to be as effective as if you spend some quality time with them, if that is the thing that makes them feel valued.
All right. And we want to let everyone know that Jeff will be sharing the slides. We'll get those to you. We've got a couple more questions. Someone asked, do you have any tips on how to emphasize culture in order to compensate for pay that may be on the lower end of what's being offered in the Valley?
I think that a positive culture will sell itself. We don't start our employees off with a very high wage. We are not being able to compete with a lot of the other restaurants, even in our business park. But our employees know that when they come in, they're going to be serving a better purpose than just taking people's food out to them, than just grinding away in the back, cleaning the bathrooms, right? Because yeah, it's not going to be worth it for them for a low amount of pay. But they know that when they come in, they're going to be greeted with a smile. They're going to be, sometimes we give hug. I mean, we are a hugging group at Chick-fil-A. So they're going to get a hug. They're going to get a smile. They're going to get a high five. And then they know too, that we're going to be caring about them. And so, yeah, you might not be able to offer a lot of money, but if your culture is positive, I think that makes a huge difference. People are going to talk about it and the word's going to get out about it.
All right, Jeff, we've got a few more that we're going to try and get in here these last few minutes. How do you find things that work for a broad group of people?
Those assessments that I was talking about earlier, I think are a great tool to help you figure out the pulse of your team. The most important one, though, is just to spend time with them. If you only see them once a week, you're never going to know what they love. and they're not going to know that you care about that anyways. If you can spend, 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, just out mingling with your team and finding out what they do care about and what they love, that's going to give you all of the insight you will ever need.
Following up with that, how do you make time to spend with your employees when, as a business, maybe someone's behind schedule?
I don't have an answer. It's hard. There is no cookie cutter way to make time. You just have to do it. You just have to say, this is more valuable right now than the things that I'm being asked to do for this business. There have been many, many times that I've had to take work home or stay late. And I know that's not ideal. I know people aren't looking to do that. And I understand that. But our team knows that if something goes wrong with them and they need some help, anybody on the director team, even Casey himself, will drop what he's doing and he will come out and he will help us get through those difficult times. It might not seem like an emergency to you, but to them and in their mind, it might be the biggest emergency that they've ever seen. And so you just being able to stop what you're doing and help them out of that will mean so much to them.
One last question, real powerful question here. What are your words of advice for developing high school students in the workplace?
Good question. Great question. I think there are a lot of different facets to that. If they come in and they don't feel like you care, they're not going to care. If you care and you don't have expectations for them, they're not going to meet those expectations. If they come in and they know you care and there are expectations, but they don't see you following those same expectations, they see you doing something totally different from what you're telling them to do, they're not going to respect you and they're not going to do it. They're going to follow that example. So for me, being the person that you want that high schooler to be and letting them know that you're invested in their life is going to make the biggest difference to them.
Jeff, this was a highly motivating presentation filled with great ideas for the business colleagues to incorporate into their retention strategies. And we had some great questions. That is all the time we have for today. A huge thank you to Jeff Morris for gifting his time and sharing his expertise in creating a culture of retention. Following a few announcements, we will leave Jeff's contact information up. And as noted, by Thursday, everyone will have Jeff's presentation emailed to them if they would like it. Our next Blueprint for Business Success seminar will be on cybersecurity for business on April 26th, 2022. So we'll see you all next month. Also, go to Job Service Kalispell for the web link or call 406-758-6200 so you can register and secure your place at the Job and Opportunity Fair on April 14th at the Flathead County Fairgrounds. There will be plenty of employers as well as employees there for all of our businesses. Thank you in advance for completing the survey when you leave today. Remember, your feedback helps us improve this program and provide meaningful topics and content. Once again, thank you for attending Blueprint for Business Success seminar.